Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Coding for Cure, where we learn to code in Python while also helping out the Cure Foundation in its mission to end childhood cancer. All profits from this course will benefit Cure. I'll have a donate link posted in the description of this video for anybody who wants to pitch in and help Cure. In this video, we will go over loops and packages. If you haven't watched last week's video, feel free to watch on my channel and go watch it, as the list introduced last lesson will be quite important to this video. But anyways, let's get started. First, we're going to dive into the new functions for this video, for and while loops. So first of all, what even are loops, right? Loops are essential for doing repetitive tasks in Python and many other coding languages and iterating over data. They can run or do the same function of code, or they can run a simple statement multiple times. In Python, we have two main types of loops, for loops and while loops. First, let's dive into for loops. So the for loop essentially repeats over an object. For example, it could repeat over a list. For example, if you want to perform an operation on every single object in a list, you can use a for loop for that. So the loop takes each item in the list as an iterable, aka when it starts the loop, it will iterate or it will do the function to every single object in the list until every object has had that done to it. And any code underneath the loop is executed for each object. So here's a quick example of the syntax of a for loop. A for loop is usually written like for item in the variable, usually a list, to form this code. So here's a quick example for you guys. So example, we can see that we have this list called planes. Sorry. And for each plane in planes, important thing to note here that you could use any other, you don't have to use exactly plane per se. You could use I or X or Y. It does not matter, as long as you don't repeat them, of course. So for each plane in planes, print that plane. And as you can see, it prints out everything in the list. So I'm going to write out a quick one just to give you guys another example. So first, let's make our list. We can call this one things. And let's open up these brackets. And now inside of things, we can open this, these quotes, and write in a string, like we could do hello. Goodbye. Yes. No. And let's add some other types in for fun. Let's do, I don't know, let's do a float. Sure, 90.6. Let's bring an integer like, let's say 15. And we'll finish off with a Boolean like true. So here's our list. Now let's write a for loop for that. We'd say for, aka for every whatever in this list. So I'll say for X, or I can say for Y. It does not matter what I choose. So for example, for X in things, aka for each object inside of our thing, I want Python to, important thing here, to tab out as anything written. If I write it for on this line, say print X, right? That's going to cause an error because this is not actually inside the for loop. It has to be tabbed in the same way. For example, for X in things, print X. So let's run that and we'll see what comes out. So as you can see here, it prints out every single thing in the list, right? So that's basically how one of these for loops works. And just another example for item in things, right? Print item. It doesn't matter what I label that is, right? As, for example, we can see again, it prints out just what we said it would. So let's go back and we're gonna do a quick exercise for y'all. So can you guys make a new list and print all the values in the for loop? I'll give you all a quick second to pause the video and do this exercise. All right, hope you all got it. So again, the solution to that would be just what we had done here. Again, the prompt says make a new list and then print all the values in a for loop. And that's exactly what we've done. We've made a new list. And we've said for each item in the list, print that item. So that's essentially what you do. You can also do a function on top of that. For example, you could do for item and things, we could make another list called new list. You could make it empty, right? For item and things, new list dot append one of our functions from last video, and we'll just write item, right? I want to add each item to list, the new list, right? And now if I exit the loop, I print this new list, we can see that's what we end up with. So you can use loops for a lot of different things in Python, especially for loops. Now let's get a bit deeper. Now, here are while loops. While loops run while condition is true or while condition is false. For example, it can run for while value of x is less than 5, or while the length of the list is equal to 5, or while x is greater than y. So for example, here's a syntax of a loop. A while loop is written as a while a condition in parentheses is equal to true or is equal to false, run the code. So here's an example of while loop. This is a very common example, usually a counting one. Count 10 is equal to 0. Our variable count 10 starts at 0. While that variable is less than or equal to 10, I want to print the number that count 10 is equal to. And then I'm going to add 1 to count 10. I hope you all got that one. And now we're going to go into a quick exercise. So can you guys make a while loop that counts to 100? Pause the video here if you need a little bit of time. And now I'm going over the solution for this while loop. So here's how we'd write that while loop. First, let me get rid of all this code. We can call the variable count 100, for example. We can set it equal to 0. We can do while count 100 is less than or equal to 100. I want it to print the value of count 100. And then one thing I can do here really quick is instead of just having to write out what we'd written before, count 10 is equal to count 10 plus 1, we can actually set it so that count 100 rather, is plus equal to 1. So this doesn't set count 10 to equal to 1, but it sets count 100 rather to be equal to plus 1 of whatever its original value was. So for example, if it was at 3, it would set count 100 equal to 4. So now let's run that code. As we can see, starts from 0, and it counts all the way up to 100. I don't know if you guys can see, that's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, it does count all the way up to 100. So anyways, well, now we're going to get into something called packages. So packages are functions and such that we import to enhance our code. They give us new and useful functions that we may need to use in Python, just like for and while. These functions are usually written by other developers, or you can make them by yourself. So let's try it. First, let's get into how to import packages. And as far as the syntax goes, we just write import package name. I'll be using the example in this video of a package called random. You'd write import random in order to use random in your code. So I'm going to dive in a little bit to what random does. So random is a package that we can use to generate random instances or random numbers or get a random value from a list. One thing that's very difficult for computers to do is actually generate anything random, as they are very logical. So you can use this package out to like help you in generating random instances or getting a random value or such. We import it again by using import random. So I'm going to dive into one of the functions of random. Random has one called .randint. We used to generate a random number with two parameters, the start and end of a range of numbers it will produce. For example, we can import random. We can set the variable x equal to a random number from 0 to 5. And then we can print x. So I'm going to do a quick example of this. So let's do this. Import random. And then we're going to write, say we'll make our variable y is equal to random dot randint 0 to 100. And then we are going to print y. So if you run this, you got, for example, 22, run it again, 67, 100, 5, 11, 34, 63. So as you can see, it does creating a random like instance very, very well, which is quite useful to your code sometimes. So let's end off this lesson with one more exercise. So in this exercise, I want you to generate a random number and print the value of the list that is associated with that number. So what I want you to do, one, create a list, then use random to generate a random number, and then print the value of that list that is associated with that number. So remember back to the last lesson where you figured out how to get a certain value from a list based on its index, which would be the value that random is generating. All right, I'll give you all a little bit to work on this and unpause the video when you're ready to hear the answer. All right, now let's get into the answer. So how we would do this would be importing random. First of all, obviously, we'll create our new list. We'll call it like new list is equal to, let's say, hello. Five. Yeah. And no. And we'll write, say, maybe. So, anyways, now we're going to use random. We'll do random dot randint. As you can see, our list has 0, 1, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values. So we'll go from 0, as random doesn't count 0. And we'll go all the way up to 4, because as if we count by indexes, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we use random starting from, if we use the last of 5, right? If it generates a value of a 5, then you can't pull the index for 5 because it doesn't exist. So we'll do that. We'll set it equal to x. This 4 again, like I said. And then we'll do print new list. And then x. Now let's run this. And as you can see, print hello. Also just make it print x. You all can see that better. As you can see, it pulled the index of 1 when it used random. And since it pulled 1, it printed whichever one was in the index of 1. In this case, it would be goodbye. All right. So thank you all so much for watching this video. And make sure to tune in next week where we go over more stuff that you can do in Python. And remember, please, if you can, donate to the Cure Foundation, and the link is posted in the description if you need to donate. Any amount is appreciated. Thank you and goodbye.